Hey, this is Bruce Trujillo from Especial here on Indie 102.3, here with Raquel Berrios y Luis Alfredo de Valle, the duo known as Buscabulla. You've heard them here on Especial, and they've just released their debut full-length album, Regresa. Bienvenidos, Raquel y Luis.
Hola.
Gracias.
Hello.
Hola. How's it
¿Cómo
going?
están?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien, muy bien. Super excited to talk to you guys. So you're originally from Puerto Rico, but lived in New York City for a while, and the new album, Regresa, itself is about returning home to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria back in 2017. So a lot of mixed emotions on this album, I feel like. Tell me more about writing these songs.
Yeah, I mean, we actually moved February of 2018, but the crazy thing is we were originally supposed to move in September, and that's exactly when Maria hit. Yeah, the process of making this record was kind of pretty chaotic. I mean, imagine living 10 years in New York and then coming. We moved to Puerto Rico, and we didn't even move to San Juan, to the capital. We moved to Aguadilla, which is just 2 hours west of San Juan. So pretty sleepy town. So it was a pretty big change for us. Plus, on top of that, it was super blissful to be back, just to enjoy the nature, our families, but also kind of a difficult time in adjusting to what the island looks like now. After not being here for 10 years, the island has changed a lot. We're in economic crisis. Maria really made, a lot of people had to leave after Maria. And so a lot of things just got, worse. So writing the album was pretty chaotic, and it was sort of it really kind of revealed a lot of emotions that I didn't even know that I had through the writing. And we really didn't know what it was going to be. We just it was pretty intuitive, and we just wanted to be as honest as possible in the emotional, kind of the emotions that we were putting into it.
Absolutely. You also recorded the album in Puerto Rico. And Raquel, I read that you felt like upon your return, you felt like you could fully exhale and you felt full again. So tell me also about being able to record in Puerto Rico as opposed to New York City or something like that.
I mean, it was definitely nicer. I mean, in New York, it was usually coming back from work, having to make dinner. We have a 5-year-old, put her to bed. And it wasn't after all of that we were actually able to work on music, and sometimes over the weekend. So just working on music in New York was a grind. So as soon as we got to Puerto Rico, we were able to really take our time. Our studio was bigger. We had upgraded it. And we also would go on these mobile studio sort of tours where we would kind of drive around the island, set up somewhere that was cool, like in front of a river or the beach or a lake. And we would kind of have these jam sessions where we would hook everything up to the car. So it was actually pretty fun, the process of writing it versus just being in our small New York City apartment.
We also, reconnected with our, sort of our guitarist who had moved back to Puerto Rico a couple years before we had,
Bairoa.
with our guitarist Bairoa, shout out. He'd sort of serve as a tour guide, to be honest, because he'd sort of been here for a while back, from New York. And yeah, he just, it'd be really great because he'd bring a lot of spontaneity and cool sort of energy to the project.
Oh, that sounds dreamy. The first single from the album, Vámonos, is also the first song that you wrote upon returning. And I think this one really does show the mixed feelings about being back, all at once being home, but being back to a very different home. So talk a little bit more about this one. And also the music video for it is out now.
Yeah. Vámonos was kind of the first kind of spark. I mean, I think that we were kind of still we were like vibrating from just being happy to being back. And, there was so much to do in the island, it was still like Maria was still so fresh, so like that energy of coming back, like we really wanted to make an abstract carnivalistic track that kind of just had kind of that raw energy that both evoke something traditional, but also something really new. But it also, towards the end, it's sort of like a cry for help as well. There's an uncertainty as well towards the end. And so, I mean, the video was sort of made mimicking a really famous, notorious festival celebrated in December in the northern town of Atillo. That's where my great grandmother used to live, and it's notorious because it's it's become really colorful, and people play really loud music, and they do wheelies with these like really big sort of like parade float type of carts. And it's just the energy is so raw, and I was just
It's
so
kind of
inspired
also, it's
by
kind
it.
of infamous, you know.
It
It's
is
kind
pretty, yeah, it's notorious because it's people are always like they just complain because they play the music so loud and they have these like blaring alarms. And I was like, this
like,
just sounds so cool. And so we worked with director Claudia Calderon, and I was like, we have to do a video based on the celebration. And she had always wanted to do one like that, and we imagined it up. It was like so much work. Like we worked so hard to make it, but we were pretty happy with the
yeah,
result.
check these out. Check it out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We
We
got
have some I actually have like sketches of the like when we were like kind of planning it out, like just kind of dreaming it up, and then what's crazy is that we ended up actually kind of making it happen, which was kind of
Oh my
crazy. I don't know
gosh.
if you can see it, but yeah, it was
That's so
pretty
cool that you still
cool.
have that too. Like this is the
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
original.
And these are
yeah.
like the original like piece of fabric that
Yeah.
we made.
No, we had like a whole little dream book, and it's crazy that we even were able to kind of make this video happen. It was pretty cool.
It is so much fun to watch. I think it's just like it's a feast for all of the senses. Of course, the music, but then like also, yeah, all of this activity going on. You've also enlisted the help of some friends on this album, including Roberto Carlos Lange, who we know as El Lado Negro, also Nick Hakim, Patrick Wemberly, and amazingly, actress and singer Nidia Caro. Elaborate a little bit more on collaborating with some of these folks. I mean, super amazing musicians.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the always the ghost in the machine. The first collaborator, the main collaborator is always Bairoa. You know, our guitarist,
Our band
keyboardist,
member, yeah.
and you know, he's got a producer credit on this record too. You know, and you know, he's sort of like our anchor. You know, he's super important, and he adds up his touch in I think the entire record. The Nick Hakim thing is really interesting because it was kind of a similar thing. We just said, Nick, could you please come over to our house and help us with this record? It's like our first record, and we've got a solid idea of what it's gonna be, but I mean, it just he's just so amazingly talented. He just it would be a privilege just to get his ears, to listen to our stuff. So, but yeah, he came down and he was here for like what was like a week.
A week. We are like, you
Yeah,
want to come down to Puerto Rico? We'll show you the island if you like help us kind of write and develop. And he's like, sure.
sure. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, and he's got his sort of touch all over the record. He played like, but in unusual and cool, interesting ways. It's not super obvious. Like he did like a vocoder guitar that's in a song called El Aprieto, and he did
He
like
sang a bit on the outro
yeah.
called
We wrote that. We wrote Mio with him.
Yeah.
We sort of started doing the skeleton for that whole song at a studio in San Juan called Casa Fantasmes. And Nick came down there, and yeah, we recorded a lot of percussion and the original chords for it there.
Yeah.
So and then we ended up going to New York to mix it with Patrick.
Yeah. El Lado Negro also did a really beautiful string arrangement on
Yeah, I
Trujillo.
mean, it's crazy. It's like it's such a it took it to another level. I mean, we've worked with Roberto in the past on a song called Frio and other things, but yeah, I think this one it holds a special place in my heart because it's like this orchestral arrangement.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful.
beautiful.
We never had one of those, on any track, so it's pretty cool.
I love that. I mean, I didn't realize that it was him that had done that, but it's like he's got his own unique touch on music.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's so cool that like
can
you have
see
that
it.
within
Yeah,
it.
I mean, yeah. When I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's
really
Roberto.
gorgeous.
And you guys also really found like a sonic vibe on this album that is like I feel like totally uniquely yours, and lots of influences from house to pop, of course, being in the New York City indie scene. Who are you guys inspired by sonically? Who are you listening to?
Oh boy, I mean, we're inspired by a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff old, primarily, but curiously from the new stuff, we're actually pretty inspired by this whole Urbano movement, like Bad Bunny and like Daddy Yankee, like even from like stuff that's super, from things that are super old and obscure, from like I was listening to a lot of Somali funk, older, more like 60s and 70s salsa music. I don't know, kind of like all over. It's always a big kitchen sink. It's actually, I really do like combining things that are very like modern and of the moment with things that are kind of obscure from the past, and sort of like trying to put those two worlds together to make something kind of refreshing. But there was a lot of influences all over. I was also
Definitely.
very much influenced by local sounds, and we were going to all of these like festivities in the island, carnivals. So also kind of excited by all the marching bands that were playing, like the traditional music that was playing. Um, there's a lot of, definitely a lot of influences throughout the record.
Awesome. And this is something that I'm seeing a lot more lately, especially with this like new Chicano Batman album that just came out. Just because like a band is Mexican or Colombian or Puerto Rican, it doesn't mean you have to make the music that sounds like what a white audience would expect. And Luis, I've read that you have particularly felt frustration over that. So making this album that is not like reggaeton or whatever you're supposed to sound like, how does it feel having this out into the world and being like, this is representative of who we are?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really give it too much thought. I think it's just, there's only one thing that we could do, right? There's only one kind of art that we could do, and it's the art that is ours. You know what I mean? Like, that is true to us, That's all that we try to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that we're, consciously trying to, you know, represent something entirely like, and wholehearted, like, oh, now this is what being Puerto Rican is about. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, it's what me and Raquel, that's, like that point of view, I think
And
it's just worth
and
exploring,
it's interesting too. I mean, I think that lately, and it's something that we've talked about for a while. When you're Latin American, people want you to make Latin American art. And in a way, it's like, if you want to make art about something that has nothing to do with your culture, it seems like sometimes like there's nothing really to kind of anchor you, or of interest. And I feel like we have to really fight against that in a way. And it was funny because we wanted to make a record about coming home, but we didn't want to fall into these stereotypes, or, oh, we're going to do like bomba and traditional plena music. Like, we kind of wanted to be authentic and use influences, but we didn't want to fall into that type of stereotype. So it's not easy. I mean, it's definitely not an easy thing when you're Latino, and people always want your sound to be Latino. Like, what if it doesn't? What if it sounds like something completely different or something new? And definitely that's something that we want to keep exploring as artists.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to talk about the latest single, NTE. I love the vibe on the song. I was actually just listening to it before we hopped on here. Tell me about the making of this song and like the sonic texture within it. I think it's just so calming, maybe the word that I'm looking for. I don't know, but tell me more about NTE.
Sure.
And it started off with a sample of a Somali disco track. I can't remember the name of it, for a Dur band, and we had sampled it.
Dolly.
A track called Dolly, and we sampled it. And for a while, we thought like maybe we could recreate the drums, but it was clear
We
that like
tried
the
and
sample
tried
was
and
like
tried.
way cooler. And I think that a lot of the things that we did on this record was kind of go for a more lo-fi sound on the sort of percussion, and then like make the other instrumentation and my voice a little bit more hi-fi. So it started with that, and then it was just, I was kind of inspired by just, I think it was that summer where Drake put out like the One Dance, and like, or like all of these like really like fun
And
sort of
the
summer
Rihanna track,
songs.
I went to you.
Yeah.
You did my love.
And I don't know, and then also kind of inspired by reggaeton in a very kind of distant way, but kind of just like a very kind of short chord progression. And then I don't know, I wanted to make kind of like a funny diss track, or like a track that meant like, I don't get it wrong, like kind of like I felt like as artists right now, like people can really kind of, because of social media, they can just attach a narrative to you. They feel like they have that power, and then, you know, how does the artist kind of fight back in a way, and like, and you're the owner of your own narrative. And so in a way, the song is sort of about really wanting to define yourself, which can be applicable for anything, just not letting anybody tell you what to do, or not telling anybody like not
Tell you
letting
who
anybody
you
tell
are,
you who
right?
you are. So the vibe was like that, and then Luis added his magic bass to it, and then, you know, and then we added some kind of quirky kind of synths on it, and then that was that, you know,
I
like
think there was also another Nick thing there. Nick brought this crazy pedal, which basically
oh, that's
makes
true, for the
anything sound
guitar.
like it was filmed on a VHS.
Oh, that's true.
So you know, he engineered and I play guitar through his thing. It was cool. You know,
Yeah, it was
that's
super
part of the
fun.
thing, I guess.
Yeah.
That's, of course, Nick would do something like that, make it sound super lo-fi. That's probably why I'm like, this is the track, the lo-fi sound. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Buscabulla, their new album Regresa, is out now, and you are tuned to Indie 102.3.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Bruce.
having us. Have a great night.
Bye.
Yeah, hopefully we can get you guys in Denver soon.
Oh man, we would
Hopefully.
love to, really. Let's see what
You're welcome.
happens.
Thanks so
Yep.
much, Bruce. Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
guys.